Hi, it's Jack, and this is the podcast version of this episode. If you want to read the words as they're being analysed, then if you're on Spotify, you can become a subscriber of this channel or head over to the YouTube channel. And on both platforms, you can also sign up to get exclusive episodes and early access to the regular weekly episodes too. Daniel Martell, who's the stepfather of missing Lily and Jack Sullivan, has given a new interview marking 6 weeks since the children went missing, and he talks about taking a polygraph test.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, I was extremely nervous, especially with the first question they asked you, did you kill Lily and Jack?
What other kinds of questions did they ask you?
All the questions pertain to the death of Lily and Jack.
The death of Lily and Jack? Does he know something we don't? Let's dive in. Welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. What I do here is different from everywhere else because I strip away everything apart from the words that are said. And then I use my process of statement investigation to give you the key to seeing possible deception, where the truth sits, and the motivations of a person. It's a process that I use with investigators, the media, and corporate clients to get a deep understanding of what is being said. So Daniel Martell, stepfather of these two children that went missing in Canada, and they've been missing for 6 weeks now. Naturally, a lot of suspicion fell on Daniel at the time. He's the stepfather. He's one of the last people to claim to see the children alive. And I've analysed him before and found that some of the things he said were questionable to me. So in this interview, 6 weeks out, what are we going to spot? Well, listen, I want us to look for leakage. That is the concept that if we're hiding something, we're thinking about it all the time. And what we're thinking about in our minds, even though we might not want to say it out loud, it will leak out in our speech if we talk long enough and if we look long enough for it. So let's have a listen to Daniel Martell's new interview.
It's been 6 weeks now since you've seen Lily and Jack. I just want to ask, how are you holding up?
It's been a long 6 weeks. I know that everybody basically in the world at this point is always wanting to know what happened. It's been from sadness to anger at this point. And I know the RCMP and major crimes are working around the clock trying to piece everything together, and I'm grateful for that. But it always leaves the question, 6 weeks has gone by, and we know at this point they're not in the woods. And where are they?
Did you feel in the beginning that they suspected you?
Of course. The stepfather was always a prime suspect right off the beginning.
You felt that from the beginning?
Yeah.
But you don't feel that now?
No, I don't feel that at all. I asked for the lie detector exam, the polygraph exam. I gave them my phone. I told them I do drug tests because there's a lot of rumors online about a drug party. Mm-hmm. I know the person that said those rumors, and it was just to take the heat off themselves.
Was there any kind of party?
No.
Was there any kind of gathering that someone might have thought was a party?
No.
There were no people at the house?
No, not the night before.
So much to unpack there from the words of Daniel Martell. He's asked, it's been 6 weeks now since you've seen Lily and Jack. I just want to ask, how are you holding up? And he says, it's been a long 6 weeks. I know that everybody basically in the world at this point is always wanting to know what happened. So he doesn't quite talk about how he's holding up. He says it's been a long 6 weeks. So he is addressing some emotions and thoughts there that are connected to the question. And then he says, I know that everybody basically in the world at this point is always wanting to know what happened. Not where are Lily and Jack, which is the prime focus, I think, for most people. Like, where are those two young children? It's what happened. What he's saying there to me is potentially leakage of an event that he knows has happened because he says they want to know what happened. Not for himself. He's not saying, I want to know what happened. He's saying everybody in the world. So everyone else really wants to know what happened. That's very interesting to me. He then says it's been from sadness to anger at this point. So he is expressing his emotions. Often people who are telling deceptive stories or lying to us about the state of mind that they're in, they will stay away from emotions because they haven't experienced those emotions. It's very hard to verbalize made up emotions. You will tend to verbalize made up events and happenings. But he does talk about his emotions there, reassuring to me it's been from sadness to anger at this point. And then he goes extra and adds in something that he hasn't been asked to do, because this is a question about how are you holding up? And he talks about what is going on, the investigative process. I know RCMP and Major Crimes are working together around the clock, trying to piece everything together. Once again, this is not about where Lily and Jack are. This is about what happened. His focus is less on where these children are and more on what happened. And he said that they are trying to piece everything together. Almost the phrase you would use, if you knew that all the bits were out there, if you just could get them all together, the truth would be revealed. So he knows the investigation now is not about finding Lily and Jack. In his words, it's about piecing things together to find out what happened. He says, I'm grateful for that. But it always leaves the question. 6 weeks has gone by, and we know at this point they're not in the moods, and where are they? That's the first time he's actually spoken about not the investigation working out what happened, what events happened, and piecing things together. That's the first time he has said, where are Lily and Jack? He's asked, did you feel in the beginning that they suspected you? He says, of course, the stepfather is always a prime suspect right off the beginning. Interesting that he distances himself from it there. He doesn't say, of course, I'm the stepfather. I was always going to be a prime suspect. That's what happens. He does convey that concept, but he doesn't talk about himself. He talks in slightly more distant and general terms about the stepfather. Now, is that just very natural distancing? If you're, or the children your stepfather to have gone missing, and you know that you are under suspicion because you're the stepfather, when you talk about it, is it going to be natural to try and create a little bit of distance and say, it's not me specifically that's under suspicion. Stepfathers in general would be under suspicion. I'm not under suspicion because of what I've done or who I am. It's the position that I hold. That could be a natural way of talking. He's asked, you felt that from the beginning? And he says, yeah. Now, if you're a regular here, you'll know that I go through questions and answers all the time. And when someone is asked a yes-no question, that's a question you can answer with a simple yes or a simple no. And some people don't mention yes, don't mention no, and go into all sorts of storytelling on the back of that. I get suspicious that they are not being honest with us. But he's very pure and straightforward here. You felt that from the beginning? Yes. But you don't feel that now? He says, no. And then he says, I don't feel that at all, which is a little bit extra. And that at all is an absolute. It's gone right, to a totality there. So I wonder if he does still feel a little bit of a suspect. Then he goes extra and volunteers more information than he was asked for. He says, I asked for the lie detector exam, the polygraph exam. I gave them my phone. I told them I do drug tests because there's a lot of rumours online about a drug party. So he's very keen to show us how helpful he is here, saying, I asked for the lie detector exam. This wasn't put on me. The suspicion on me wasn't so great that they came to me and said, we want you to do a polygraph. He's saying, I offered this up. I offered them my phone. I told them do drug tests. So he's very keen to get across how helpful he's been. Can we interpret that? Well, I think a guilty person and an innocent person would all act and speak the same way there. An innocent person would be trying to show they're innocent, trying to take the spotlight off them and get the investigation pointing in the right direction. So may well be saying, here's all the things I've done to help the investigation. And a guilty person would be using some of the same concepts as well. Hey, I offered them my phone. I offered them a drug test. I said I'd do the lie detector test because I'm so innocent. Look at me, I'm innocent. So we can't draw anything specifically just from those. Do spot something, though, is that I asked for the lie detector exam and he's going to say that he took it. I gave them my phone, so there's a physical transaction there. It's not I offered them my phone, it's I gave them my phone. Doesn't say that he wasn't asked for it first, but he has passed over his phone. And then I told them, do drug tests because there's a lot of rumours online about a drug party. He doesn't say there that the drug tests were done, just he offered to do the drug tests. And then he says something very interesting about these rumours online about a drug party, which he says, I know the person that said those rumours, and it was just to take the heat off themselves. Now, I cannot believe the interviewer didn't follow up on this. There is someone that Daniel knows that had heat on them for some reason around this investigation. And I would have followed up and gone, whoa, there is someone wanting to take the heat off themselves. The interviewer doesn't follow up on that, sadly. So all we've got is this part of it here. But I was thinking about this and going, who would want to take the heat off themselves in this missing person's case? And all I could think of was, is this Malia? the mother of the children, his ex-partner, or someone close to her, someone related to her? Is that who started the rumours about the drugs party? Is this the leakage coming out from Daniel that the Malia wanted to take the heat off themselves? Interesting, he uses themselves, a gender-neutral term as well. He doesn't say that was a guy who wanted to take the heat off himself, or that was a woman who wanted to take the heat off herself. He gender-neutrals it as if he's trying to keep it super anonymous. So is he talking about Malia there? He's then asked, was there any kind of party? He says no. Was there any kind of gathering that someone might have thought was a party? He says no. You can see these yes-no questions are being answered simply and crisply, and a hallmark of truthfulness. It's not proof that we're being told the truth here, but he doesn't go on to explain or storytell about what was happening at all or where this came from. He just says no to there was any kind of party, no. Was it any kind of gathering? And then he's asked, there were no people at the house, and he says no, reassuring. And then he says, not the night before. So he qualifies it down. Were there people at the house another time, which is part of this whole story, part of this event, or is he just being super cautious in what he says? But when he's asked there were no people at the house, he says, no, not the night before. Were there people at the house at another time? So look, the first part of the interview there, here he is keen to show his innocence. I can see that in his words. That could be natural for an innocent person. We can't read too much into that at this point. But he does point to an event, a happening, rather than a disappearance and missing children mystery there. And who is this other person that's there? The other thing is always look at what is missing. And he's asked about 6 weeks since Lily and Jack went missing. And Lily and Jack, there's no concern expressed for them. There's no worry expressed for them at all in this 6 week period. There's just nothing there. The concern is very much in with himself, saying there's been sadness and there's been anger, but no concern there for Lily and Jack. Okay, let's get a little bit more from Dan.
Okay, you mentioned you offered to take a polygraph test.
Yeah.
Did the RCMP take you up on that?
Yes, it did.
And how did that unfold?
That unfolded in my favor. They obviously know I wasn't lying about anything.
So they said, yep, great, thank you, come in
Yeah.
for a polygraph test.
Yeah, it took a little while to set up, and
When did you do that test?
I don't know the exact date, but that would be at least 3 weeks ago, probably.
So roughly 3 weeks after the disappearance.
Yeah.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, I was extremely nervous. Especially with the first question they asked you, did you kill Lily and Jack?
That was the first question they asked you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What other kinds of questions did they ask you?
All the questions pertain to the death of Lily and Jack. Are you accessory to the murder of Lily and Jack? They were all.
So all of the questions assumed that the children are no longer alive.
Yeah.
There were no questions at all about, did you take them somewhere? Could
No.
they be somewhere?
No.
So we got on to questions about the polygraph test. The interviewer says, okay, you mentioned you offered to take a polygraph test. He says, yeah. Did RCMP take you up on that? Yes, they did. Straightforward answers. And how did that unfold? That unfolded in my favour. They obviously know I wasn't lying about anything. That's an interesting set of words, okay? They obviously know. Obviously is a convincing word. It doesn't need to be there in the sentence at all. It would have the same meaning if he said they know I wasn't lying about anything, but it's the obviously word. It's convincing us. It's, hey, they obviously know I wasn't lying about anything. It's obvious I wasn't lying about anything. It's put in there to convince us that they don't believe he was lying about anything. So that is trying hard to show the results of this. To know I wasn't lying about anything. Wasn't is in the past tense. Number one, that is not to say that he's not lying now in the present tense. It's just in the past, he wasn't lying about anything. Again, I'm not drawing anything majorly suspicious about this. I'm picking up data points about what he's saying. I know that I wasn't lying about anything. A blanket, absolute term there that he wants to get across, that I wasn't lying about anything at all. So although it's been very casual and straightforward, yeah, I did the test, yeah, it was in my favour, this bit here is strikes me as trying very hard to get across to us that he obviously is in the clear with the police because I wasn't, past tense, lying about anything at all. He's asked, so they said, yeah, great, thank you, come in for a polygraph test. He says, yeah, it took a little while to set up. When did you do the test? I don't know the exact date, but that would be at least 3 weeks ago, probably. So roughly 3 weeks after the disappearance, yeah. he's asked, were you nervous? And he says, yeah. Once again, he is comfortable sharing his emotions, and even one where you may say, oh, why was he nervous doing a polygraph test? Surely if he had nothing to hide, if he was going to tell the truth, he would just be like, no, I wasn't nervous because I'm telling the truth. But he admits to nerves, and I think that's a very natural thing. If you're an innocent person going in for a polygraph test and not really much idea of what's going to show up here, am I going to actually look like I'm guilty because I don't know how to do a polygraph test? I think nerves would be natural there, whether you are guilty or whether you are innocent. And then he says, especially with the first question they asked, did you kill Lily and Jack? And I've got so many observations about that one phrase, did you kill Lily and Jack? Number one, if someone is guilty of a crime, especially a serious crime, they tend to downplay the nature of the crime in the words. I use this example a lot, but if someone has stolen money and they're asked, did you steal that money? They may downplay the words in their response and say, I didn't take the money. So they've changed steal and turned it down to take. Or did you steal the money? I haven't got the money. Again, turning down the accusation lower in the words. But he doesn't. He uses a very, very visceral word there, kill. So there's no downplaying at all there in what he says. And also, he talks about Lily and Jack by name. Something I noticed when he was speaking in some of the earlier interviews, something I also noticed in the mom's interview, Malia, that they did not use a lot the names Lily and Jack, which suggested a bit of distance from those children, not having some sort of emotional connection to them because people we're close to, we use their names a lot. And here he is using their names, Lily and Jack. This is a phrase for me of reassurance. If I've been going, hey, he's giving signs of innocence, but he's also giving signs that a guilty person would use, this is very much not something a guilty person, a person guilty of killing Lily and Jack would be expected to do. We'd expect to see some downplaying there. The interviewer says, that was the first question they asked you? He says, yeah. What other kinds of questions did they ask you? And this is an interesting response. All the questions pertained to the death of Lily and Jack. Are you an accessory to the murder of Lily and Jack? Now, we've got more repetition of Lily and Jack there. We also have, again, not wanting to downplay, so talking about the death and the murder there. But what is going on here? The death, the murder, is talking about a specific thing. It's not, did you kill Lily and Jack? It's the death that he's talking about, the murder, a concept. Is he aware that there was a death, or is he aware that there was a murder? Or is he reflecting the language in the questions he was asked? But I found the fact that he was talking about their death and their murder as a concept by wrapping it up in the death, the murder, rather than potential actions. So were you involved in a murder or murdering those kids, or did you cause the death of those kids? The fact that he's talking about the death of Lily and Jack as if they are dead and there is a concept that they are dead, I found that strange. And then he says, they were all. So all the questions pertain to the death of Lily and Jack. Are you an accessory to the murder of Lily and Jack? They were all. And he fades away as if he doesn't want to say any more. The interviewer says, so all the questions assumed that the children are no longer alive. He says, yeah. Again, straightforward answer. There were no questions at all. Did you take them somewhere? He says, no. Could they be somewhere? He says, no. Now, I found that very strange, that there was this polygraph test done and the only questions that they asked him were about the death of Lily and Jack. I've got to take his word for it, and those seem like truthful answers, but why would the police not investigate further, ask wider questions? Why are they focused in on, did he kill Lily and Jack? Very interesting around this polygraph test. So look here, he is very straightforward talking about this polygraph test, right on the mark with his questions. Honesty suggested in so many markers there, the straightforwardness of the yes and no's, the way he just speaks and doesn't downplay some of the accusations put to him. He's not afraid of the strong words, but that phrase, the death, that worried me a lot, him talking about that concept of the death, as if he would talk if he was aware that those children were no longer there. Let's get some more from this interview.
Do you know who else actually took a polygraph test?
I mean, I do, but I'm not going to say anything that's going to impede the investigation.
Okay. When did you find out the result of your test?
Immediately right after.
What did they say to you?
You did a good job, you passed.
And how did that feel?
Good.
And did you feel that there was any further suspicion on you after that point, or was that sort of conclusive?
No, that was really when I seen the turning point for it starting to taper off with investigators.
Do you know if Malia has taken one?
I don't know if I can say it, but I will anyway. Yes, she did take one.
Okay, she took one. Do you know the result?
No. RCMP wouldn't let tell me I asked.
You said you feel like everyone in the world wants to know what happened to Lily and Jack.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think this is getting so much attention?
Well, just the mysterious and nature of everything and how strange everything is. The RCMP, you know, I mean, they have to keep a tight lip on everything, but there's a lot more that meets the eye with the case.
The interviewer asked Daniel, do you know who else actually took a polygraph test? He says, I mean, I do, but I'm not going to say anything that's going to impede the investigation. Now, interesting word there, impede the investigation. So he, by implication there, would say something that would help the investigation. This will become relevant. Okay, when did you find out the result of your test? He says, immediately right after. What did they say to you? You did a good job, you passed. And how did that feel? He says, good. Once more, he's taking on the emotions. He is being honest, I believe, with how he feels. How did that feel? Good. And did you feel there was any further suspicion on you after that point, or was that sort of the conclusion? He says, that was really when I seen the turning point for it's starting to taper off with the investigators. Now, what he wants to give us the impression of here is he's in the clear. The investigators are not looking at him anymore at all. Look at me, I'm so innocent. However, that's not quite what he says there. That was really when I seen the turning point. So that's qualified down with an LY word, really. That's really when I seen the turning point for it's starting to taper off with the investigators. So not it's tapered off. It's not it's closed. If you look at what taper means, it was wide area of suspicion, and then maybe if it tapers there's less suspicion there, but it's not tapered off entirely. It's just starting to taper off. So I think he still feels that the investigators do still have some questions of him or are still watching him. Then we get interesting. Do you know if Malia has taken one? Now remember, he wasn't going to impede the investigation by saying who had taken a polygraph test, and he says, I don't know if I can say it, but I will anyway. Yes, she did take one. So from his previous words, we can see that him saying that Malia has taken this polygraph test is not impeding the investigation. In fact, he thinks it's helping the investigation by the implication of what he said. So is he once more trying to say Malia's the person that needs to be looked at here? That is all very possible in the totality of the words that are there. Okay. She took one, he's asked, do you know the result? He says no. Then it's a little bit unclear because Dan's a little bit mumbly. It's either RCMP wouldn't tell me, I asked, or RCMP weren't allowed to tell me, I asked. Whatever it is, the I asked thing is again him saying, I was very interested in the results of Malia's lie detector test. Again, an indication that he's got something, whether it's knowledge or whether it's suspicions around Malia, I think, coming through in his words. He's asked, you said you feel like everyone in the world wants to know what happened to Lily and Jack. He says, yeah, why do you think that is? Why do you think it's getting so much attention? He says, well, just the mysterious nature of everything and how strange everything is. The RCMP, you know, I mean, they have to keep a tight lip on everything, but there's a lot more than meets the eye with the case. So let's look at this. He wants to give the impression of there's a mysterious nature, there's a strange nature, but I understand that the police can't say everything. They've got to hold some cards back. They can't show everything that they're working on, and there's more than meets the eye. But I'm interested, number one, in his use of everything. The mysterious nature of everything and how strange everything is curiously non-specific there. This is distancing, so it's not the mysterious nature of Lily and Jack's disappearance or where they are or what happened to them that morning or who has them. It's just the mysterious nature of everything. How strange everything is, and you'll know that it can't be true that everything is mysterious and everything is strange. There will be some things that make sense and are logical, but he's gone to this huge big point of generalization there. He's not taking on the specifics there. He stutters there. He wonders whether he should say the next thing that's coming. So he's thinking about it. Should I go for it? And he goes for it. He says, there's a lot more than meets the eye with this case, which is him explicitly saying, I know there is more. There is more. There are things that have not been said. There are discoveries. There are things maybe he knows the police know. There are things that are not out there yet that are still being investigated or are still to come to light. So what have we got here? He's holding things back, maybe with a reason. Maybe he's been asked not to do that, not to impede the investigation. But he doesn't seem to have any loyalty to his ex-partner, the mother of Lily and Jack Malaya, at all. In fact, in a very quiet and subtle way, it's as if he wants to throw some look at her. Go and look over there. Go and look at her. Coming up, we're going to see him talk about something I think is really relevant, and I think this is major leakage from Daniel when he talks. Listen, do you ever feel like you're not being told the full story? I think we do not have the full story around the disappearance of Lily and Jack, as Daniel himself is saying. And you're right, because it happens to us all the time. Maybe not as important things as missing children, just in our day-to-day life, people are holding things back from you, and I'm giving you the key to seeing deeper and hearing the world with new ears. And I'm on a mission to share this with as many people as possible. So if you want to unlock that secret, subscribe or follow this channel. Delve into the archives. There's so much to learn in there from cases waiting to be explored. Also, do you know someone who needs this, someone who deserves to hear the truth? If you hit the like button, if you comment, if you share this, it all fuels the fire and helps this get to more people. The more people it gets to, that allows me to dig deeper into cases like this, analyze further, and also bring the life-changing skill to even more people. I often hear from audience members who've navigated tricky situations in their life using the skill they've learned on this channels. So your like, your comment, your share could help someone just like that. It's a great gift to give. Let's go back to Daniel Martell's interview.
Why do you think the police are asking for video dating back, days before that?
Well, the reason for that is they want to see the traffic of the vehicles on the roads in the area, right? Maybe vehicles that were traveling that area a lot over the last few days prior to hand, or vehicles that weren't seen in the area, or vehicles that were seen in the area, like local people that are, making frequent trips past the house, or which it's all considered evidence. I mean, the more pictures and videos is the better.
They say they have hundreds of hours of video. Mm-hmm. Do you know if they found anything on those videos?
I think it was up to 2 weeks ago, they had footage that they examined for evidence that was 8 kilometers diameter out from the house. So that was after a month. That's how long it took to get footage and review it 8 kilometers out. So
but what's on the video?
I don't know. I'm only limited by what they tell me.
Daniel is asked, why do you think the police are asking for video dating back days before that? I presume that means the date of the disappearance. And he says, now here's a flag. He started his answer to a question with the word well, which means I'm not going to take on the question directly. I am going to do an explanation here. I'm going to give you something that's not quite expected, and I'm flagging that with that word well at the beginning of the answer. And then we have, an explanation come. He flags that not just with the well, but the reason for that is they want to see the traffic of the vehicles on the roads in the area. Now look at how much this answer focuses on traffic and vehicles. It's repeated many times. So they want to see the traffic of the vehicles on the roads in the area, right? Maybe vehicles that were traveling that area a lot over the past few days, or vehicles that, weren't seen in the area, or vehicles that were seen in the area. So he focuses a lot on vehicles. So for him, or for the police, he's leaking out here that vehicles seem to be very important and relevant to this case, because it's not anything other than videos of vehicles and traffic, not visitors to the house, not people or anything like that. Some curious things in there as well. Vehicles that weren't seen in the area. You can't have a video of a vehicle that wasn't seen in the area. It wouldn't exist. Maybe there would be vehicles showing things missing, but a focus there on vehicles that weren't seen in the area. Is there a specific vehicle that should have been in the area that wasn't around about the time that Lily and Jack went missing? I think that's highly possible from the words that he says there. He kind of quickly corrects himself or states further, or vehicles that were seen in the area, as if he realizes he's slipped up and maybe said something that he shouldn't have said. Like local people that are, you know what I mean, making frequent trips past the house. So this is another mention of a local person, or me assuming that the one about the person who started the rumour about the drug party was a local person. So we've got here, why are the police looking for video? Traffic, vehicles that weren't there. Did a vehicle move? And is someone local important to Dan when he answers this question? And you'll notice then he fades out again. You know, I mean, people making frequent trips past the house, or... And he doesn't finish that. Or what? We don't know. But we do know that there's a concept in his mind, the or, that he was going to say a little bit more and thinks better of it. He then says, it's all considered evidence. I mean, the more videos and the more pictures and videos is the better. Then the interviewer says to him, they say they have hundreds of hours of video. Do you know if they found anything on those videos? And I think for almost the first time, he doesn't say yes or no to a yes-no question. He doesn't say, yes, I do know they found something. No, I don't know if they found anything. He gives an answer that's not relevant to that. I think it was up to 2 weeks ago, they had footage that they examined for evidence that was 8 kilometres diameter out from the house. So, I mean, that was after a month. That's how long it took to get footage and review it 8 kilometres out. So instead of saying what's on the video, he talks about how long it took to get all the videos together. Interesting. Doesn't answer the question. I noticed that he is very hung up on time spans and long time spans. He spoke in the interview about it taking a long time to get the polygraph sorted. He does seem focused on long time spans. Maybe it's just how he's built and what is going on there, but time span, very important to him. But also he doesn't answer that question. The interviewer notices this and says, so what's on the video? He says, I don't know. I'm only limited by what they tell me. So listen, I don't know is generally a very truthful answer. Truthful people don't mind saying, I don't know. I'm kind of reassured by that, but also not reassured by the fact that he just didn't say, I don't know the first time, but spoke about this gathering of video with an 8 kilometre diameter. I'm only limited by what they tell me. So in this section here, the focus on the traffic is the big thing for me. Is this leaking of knowledge that a car was involved? Do you remember some of the other interviews with him at the time where he spoke about boot prints stopping at the road? Is this him trying to lead people towards a car? Local people seems to be important to him in that answer. And people who weren't there, or a vehicle that wasn't there, is interesting to me. This is the first question, though, that he has avoided. So what is it about? It's about what's on the video. What is that video showing? He doesn't want to deal directly with that question. Let's have one last listen to this new interview with Dan Martell.
The investigators don't see me as part of the disappearance.
How do you know that?
Well, when you're going from daily to tapering off every 5 days, I mean, I've already gave them everything on my phone. I'm the one who originally said, here, take my phone. We'll go through all my banking information. We'll go through all my stuff on my GPS from Google.
And you were offering all that up, right?
Yeah, I offered everything.
And why were you doing that?
To show them that I want to get the investigation moving. I know I have nothing to do with any of it. A lot of speculation is, you killed the kids. We'll just come out and say it straight as it is.
What do you think when you read that?
It's a lot of nonsense, obviously. I know the truth. I didn't kill Lily and Jack. And I just think a lot of people online they're seeking drama. That's the main thing. Everybody's allowed their own opinion, like I said before, but it's hard on the people that were actually there and missing the children. Still haven't got to see any of my kids, including Lily and Jack. And that's been really tough, going from a family of 7, including my other 2 kids that live in Halifax now. Going from a family of 7, in the blink of an eye, your family's ripped apart and you're left alone.
So he's asked there about why the investigators don't see him as part of the disappearance, which is something that he stated. How do you know that? And he says, well, so we're getting an explanation again, although he is asked for an explanation. When you're going from daily to tapering off every 5 days, now this is him talking about how often he is in contact with the police investigating the disappearance. So he was saying they were speaking to me daily, and now they speak to me maybe every 5 days. So he said it's tapering off. You can see there what I mentioned about tapering is not got to the point of the taper where nothing's happening. They're still speaking to him every 5 days. And then he says, I mean, I've already given them everything on my phone. I'm the one who originally said, here, take my phone. So look, he's assuming the investigators don't see him as part of the disappearance, or he's trying to persuade us the investigators don't see him as part of the disappearance. The investigators obviously have not said to him, hey, you're in the clear here, nothing to worry about here. He is assuming that from 2 things, which is that the contact is tapering off but hasn't stopped, and also the fact that he's acted like an innocent person. I'm the one who originally said, here, take my phone. And once more, this is not about him saying, when asked, I gave them my phone. This is him saying, I wanted them to take my phone. We'll go through all my banking information. We'll go through all the stuff on my GPS from Google. Now, he's given them his phone. He's given them the banking information and the GPS from Google. Phone, I can understand why that would be useful, because your phone will show conversations that you had, maybe Google searches that you had, and so on. A phone would be useful evidence in saying, look, no evidence of planning here, no evidence of communication with anyone or guilty messages to people here on my phone. GPS as well would show where you've been, and that may assure someone that, yeah, this person never left the house, or so on. I mean, you could have left your phone behind, but I can see why that is relevant. Banking information. These children are missing. The story that he's telling is that they woke up one morning, heard the children, then didn't hear the children, and the children were gone. Why would your banking information be relevant? Why does he think showing his banking information would help clear him? I don't know. Got some thoughts. Would it show you didn't use an ATM or buy something on a card at somewhere you shouldn't have been or somewhere you were claiming not to be? Would it show that there wasn't a large deposit of cash in your account? Or you hadn't bought something that could be used in some sort of way for children disappearing? I don't want to say it out loud because it's quite grim, but it's very interesting that he wants to hand over his banking information. And you've got to say, I understand what he's saying here, but none of those things proves innocence. He may just feel those are things that prove innocence. So yeah, banking info, not quite sure I understand that. He's asked, you were offering all that up, right? Yeah, I offered everything. Well, that's not quite what you said. You said you offered limited things: phone, drug test, banking information, GPS. You didn't say you offered everything. You were quite specific about that first time. But then he's asked them, why were you doing that? To show them that I want to get the investigation moving. I know I have nothing to do with any of it. Now, this is another one that goes both ways for me. Have is in the current present tense. So it's not I had nothing to do with it. It's I have nothing to do with it. Even now, still today, I have nothing to do with it. Our tense use tends to be very instinctive. We don't think about it a lot. We just use tenses because we've used them all our lives. I have nothing to do with any of it. The have part, reassuring to me. I have nothing to do with any of it, though. Again, it's one of those totalities, and any suggests that there's a lot to it. You know, it's not just one act that made these children disappear, which was like, I have nothing to do with it. It would be a single thing. Any of it is lots of things, as if he's aware that there's some complexity to this, as if there's a lot going on, and he knows about that lot going on, and he's saying, I had nothing to do with any of it. Lots happened, but I've got nothing to do with any of it. Leakage there again. Then he says, a lot of speculation is you killed the kids. Now, once more, he's not downplaying the language. In fact, he's very happy to say that out loud. I think there might be some editing on that interview, but he comes out and says it. He says, I'll come out and say it straight as it is. He is not downplaying that. A guilty person may have said, yeah, a lot of people think I did it. A lot of people think, you know, I'm involved. No, he comes out and he uses the big visceral word killed the kids, which I find reassuring there because he's not downplaying. And he says, yeah, come out and say it straight as it is. And he's asked, what do you think when you read that? He said, it's a lot of obvious nonsense, obviously. I know the truth. I didn't kill Lily and Jack. So the question is, what do you think? And he tells us what he thinks. He doesn't tell us what he feels. He really is listening to the questions and taking on the questions that he is being asked. It's a lot of nonsense. He says, obviously, I know the truth. I didn't kill Lily and Jack. We have the use of kill again, and we have the use of the children's names again. All reassuring for me, Lily and Jack. He says, I know the truth, though. Now, again, is this leakage that he knows what's happened, that he's aware of a bigger picture? Because does he mean by that, I know the truth, which is I didn't do it, I was not involved in it? Or does I know the truth refer to the fact that he does know what happened? He's not going to share it with us, but he knows the truth. There's a lot of things in his words for me that says he knows more than he is sharing about this. And I think a lot of people online they're seeking drama. That's the main thing. Everybody's allowed their own opinion, like I say before. He says, but it's hard on the people that were actually there and missing the children. So he's not talking about himself there. He's talking about himself and maybe other people. It's hard on the people that were actually there and missing the children. There when it was found they were disappeared, or there when this event that he's alluded to happened, the something that happened. Interesting there. Again, I think this is leakage that he knows something has happened. He knows something has gone on. I still haven't got to see any of my kids, including Lily and Jack, and that's been really tough. Going from a family of 7, including my other 2 kids that live in Halifax now, going from a family of 7 in the blink of an eye, our family's ripped apart and you're left alone. Feelings here. Again, he is sharing his feelings. He mentions he hasn't seen any of his kids, including Lily and Jack. So he still feels like they are part of the family. That last part, again, reassuring. He's talking about himself there. Maybe a little bit of concern for himself, over concern for the children, which I do find is interesting and slightly odd there. But there does seem to be no problem talking about his feelings. So there we go. There's that new interview with Dan Martell. Man, so much to it. I see so many reassuring things in his words when he talks. He mentions the kids by name. He's not afraid of saying big, scary words like murder and death and kill. And he does answer most of the questions. He does take the questions on and go for it. But there are less reassuring things today. Indications that he knows of an event, even the mention of the death, like it's a certain concept in his head. I'm really interested, though, in some of the things he said. Who was the person who started the rumour that he refers to take the heat off themselves? What is there? And what more does he know? Because I think he does let on that there was an event, there was a happening, and he knows more than he was saying. And then potentially significant in that interview in terms of leakage, money. Was money involved somehow? Not money that he got because it's not in his bank account, but was money involved somehow? Drugs. I'm interested in that as well because he said, I offered to take a drugs test. He doesn't say he did a drugs test. Malia, he is certainly, to me, not exactly pointing the finger explicitly at her, but I think he's doing a kind of, hey, look over there. I don't want to say it out loud, but hey, look over there. Traffic, vehicles, very, very significant, I believe, in this as well. And also locals around there. And that could be extremely uber tightly local to the house that they lived in, if you know what I'm saying. What do you think? Do let me know in the comments here. I'd love to know your thoughts, or you can get in touch on social media. You will find all the social links at neveratruerword.com. While you're there at neveratruerword.com, why not sign up for the monthly newsletter so you can find out more about learning how to see the truth, deception, and also the motivations of someone inside their words. You'll find all of that and more at neveratruerword.com. And we'll see you soon for something new from Never a Truer Word.